Joe Hopkins here, and today I'm doing a video to tell you you need to hear Electrify. That's a new band. They put out their debut EP called Chaotic apparently just a couple months ago, which is about the time I heard of them. And you know what? I tell you what, man, I'm going to let their music speak for themselves. I'm going to play a couple short clips here. Short enough so the YouTube gremlins don't jump up on my head and start beating me. But long enough so you get an idea, right? Okay, so hopefully you heard that and said, that rocks. Because personally, I think that rocks. Rocks pretty damn hard. Yeah, like I said, I heard of this band a couple months ago when their debut EP came out. And apparently they got some similarities to one of my favorite rock bands at the moment. I love The Warning, right? The Warning, three sisters from Mexico. And Electrify apparently is two pairs of sisters, also from Mexico. So I'm wondering, man, is it the Mexican women are just writing really good songs and rocking out these days? It would seem to be, you know what I mean? I gotta tell you, I think what really grabs me with this band, they remind me a lot of that whole Riot Girl movement in the 90s. The music sounds very 90s, and I really dug that. I mean, if these women were jamming out 30 years ago in Seattle, I think they'd fit right in, to be honest with you. And I really liked that music movement back in the 90s. A lot of really great female artists then, and this has a similar sound. It just feels a little nostalgic for me, and that's, what can I say, man? I like that. That makes me feel good. Right here in my heart, makes me feel like I'm a kid again. But seriously, I really like this band. I think they're really good. I've noticed in the last 10 years here, most of the bands I really dig have been either all women or at least female fronted. Apparently women rock, right? Somebody should time travel back to the 1980s and maybe tell some industry people that back then, when I was growing up, man, you know, rock and roll was sort of a male-oriented sport for the most part. You had your outliers, you know, like Heart and the Runaways and Pat Benatar, you know, but for some reason, you know, in rock music, they all wanted to sign men. You know what I mean? And now that we live in a world where you have social media and can promote yourself, some of the best bands out there, some of the best rock music is from women these days. And I love it. I always really like women in rock and roll. I always thought in rock music, a female voice really lends something to it, and a female mindset really lends something to it. I think it's why a lot of my favorite bands over the years have been women or fronted by women, like Heart, like the Runaways. I always thought Stevie Nicks was one of the greatest songwriters in all of history, and I loved the Riot Girl movement in the 90s, you know, like Hole and Babes in Toyland, Bikini Kill, those types of bands. Always really dug that whole thing. And I'm really digging the current crop of female rockers, man. It's really good stuff. Like I said, The Warning is one of my favorite bands of all time. They've become one of my, like, top favorites, man, up there with like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and, you know, Metallica. Because, yeah, those are the classics, man. Judas Priest, you gotta love that stuff. And The Warning, they fit right in there with that. And Electrify, they're right there with that, man. You know, and and Latin America too. A lot of women from Latin America are really become some of my favorite bands, like The Warning, Electrify, Pacifica. I'm really digging it, man. I'm digging the hell out of it. And personally, I think there was a time, right, when the best rock and roll in the world came out of the US, and then out of Great Britain, and then, you know, Germany had a moment. Scandinavia, they had their moments. Right now, I'm thinking, you know, Mexico's having its moment, man. There are a couple more bands like this, and yeah, they'll be creeping up to the top. Cool stuff, man. And, you know, if anybody's worried about understanding the lyrics, they sing in English, right? In case you're not bilingual, I'm barely bilingual. I understand more than I speak, you know what I mean? You got to start to understand a little bit, because my wife speaks Spanish, and at my job a lot of people speak Spanish. So, you know, when they do sing in Spanish, yeah, I understand more than I can say. That's a common thing. Plus, I like watching the telenovelas. Back when I had Univision, man, you know, good shows, man. You gotta watch the Spanish soap operas, baby. Yeah, and Sábado Gigante, but you don't need to speak Spanish to understand what's going on there. If anybody's seen it, look it up. You don't need to know the language. It's mostly visual. But anyway, Electrify, yeah, they're worth checking out. I'm gonna keep my eye on them, see if they whenever they go on tour. They're just getting started out, so chances are they'd be an opening act for somebody. But whenever that happens, man, I'd love to check it out, especially if they're opening for somebody I really dig. That could be a show worth seeing. So yeah, check out their debut EP, Chaotic. It's not too hard to find, you know what I mean? You go to you type in Electrify into YouTube, and yeah, go to their channel. You know, when you go to somebody's channel, it has this tab that says releases. That's the music they've put out. I'm mentioning that because I also do music. If you go to my channel and hit releases, it comes up, man. I've got 4 albums out now. The newest one is called Fever Chamber by Joe Hopkins, and there'll be a link here in a playlist in a sec. That's that, or you go to releases, or you go to streaming down below. There's my personal self-promotion. Check out Electrify, check out my music, and yeah, well worth checking out. I'll see y'all next video. I love y'all. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.